Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I'm speaking with Cass Braido of the Losers Club. The band is all set to put out their latest single called Freak Like Me, and I cannot wait to talk to them all about it. Cass, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm great. Thanks so much for doing this. This is
You
this is gonna be
are
fun.
so welcome. Where are you at right now?
Denver, Colorado.
Nice. I'm headed there in a couple weeks. I hope you guys are playing some shows.
No, we're taking a break till like January. Um,
Okay, that's reasonable.
we, yeah, well, we can't. We actually aren't supposed to play like a month, like until this next January show. We had to do like a radius clause, so it
Oh,
works out
well,
though.
hey, that means big things are coming.
I
Usually,
sure hope so. Yeah,
when radius clauses are signed, that means good things.
yeah, right.
We don't need to talk about that though. What I do want to talk about is this single "Freak Like Me." It is awesome. You guys are, I mean, as cheesy as it sounds, putting the punk in punk rock. The song's seriously fantastic. Um, I want to talk about the song's lyricism though. I want to like strip back the noise for just a moment and hear from you what it's really all about.
Sure. Well, obviously, it's about um, kind of feeling stuck and like being in your own head about certain things and you know like you're stuck on that hamster wheel, you just don't
Sure.
get off of it. But kind of finding comfort in realizing that you're not the only person that feels that way. um, like thematically the lyric is you'll never be a freak like me, but in the bridge we
Right.
come in with you're a freak like me, so it's like it's that realization that you're not by yourself, and kind of those feelings and feeling like you're taking crazy pills, and maybe you're a bit of an outsider and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that seems pretty relatable, to be honest.
yeah, that's what we were thinking too.
Nice, man. So, obviously, you're not the only member of the band. And I would
Right.
love for you to shout out the other guys who does what, who takes care of what, and definitely talk them up because everyone did a fantastic job here.
For sure. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
So Tristan also sings, and then he's our bass player. And
Sweet.
then Cade is our drummer. Does not sing, but he's very solid at drums, so
Yeah,
we don't need him to do any vocals or anything
that's
like that.
okay.
hmm and then I play guitar and sing, so it's just
Nice.
a three piece. We, as far as like the vocals and stuff go, it depends. Like we both just have really different sounding voices, so sometimes stuff sounds better if Tristan does it. Sometimes it sounds better if I do it.
That makes
So we
sense.
layer them. It's kind of like having like another instrument to play around with. So we
Totally.
like kind of just
Well,
experimenting.
who was lead vocals on this song?
Tristan does the verses,
Okay.
and then I back him up, and then I do the chorus, and he does the background in the chorus. So we just
Very cool.
created.
All right. Well, I definitely want to talk about the production side of things as well because the song sounds great. Like the mixing is perfect. Do you guys take care of the production yourself? Do you have any outside help?
Oh, absolutely not. We have outside help. There's
Okay.
no way. None of us are smart enough to know how that stuff works at all.
That could be a real pain in
At
the
all.
ass.
Oh yeah, no. We had, so the guy who produced Freak, his name's Taylor Hahn. He runs a studio in Denver, and met with him in like July, I think. Like it was a little while ago, and everything he was saying he wanted to do, and with the drum sounds and just production and a lot of the, I'm sure as you heard, like the vocal production, there's some
Yeah.
cool stuff going on. He did and did very well. Like he's very good at what he does, and he definitely deserves credit for a lot of that because we don't know how to do
No.
that.
Band production is like it's a whole different beast. You can I say, put your focus on the actual music making and leave it to the professionals to take care of that stuff because it's
Oh,
ridiculous.
oh yeah, and on like our first like three releases, just because it's expensive, and when you're first
Oh
starting, you
yeah.
don't really know anybody. We just did it like in my basement, and I was like ripping my hair out for like 2.5 weeks, being like, I don't know why the snare sounds. I can't
Right.
fix
Like
that. I
this
don't
was
know how that
supposed to
works.
be fun and we're not having fun here.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, the
man.
learning curve for music production
Yeah.
is incredible. So anybody who's really good at it, like Taylor Hahn here in Denver. It definitely deserves a lot of credit.
Nice. That's awesome. Obviously, I want to keep the focus on this single, but I also want to talk about the future for you guys. You've
Yeah.
got, you're building up your discography pretty quick, it seems like. You've got consistent releases coming.
Mhm.
What are the plans on the horizon? Like, do you have more music coming? Is there always things in the works? What's going on?
Kind of always. I have a really, really hard time sitting still, and kind of, I think all three of us have that problem.
Yeah.
So, and it's always kind of okay, cool. Like, what else can we do? What's the next thing? And we're going back to do two more tracks in December,
Nice.
um, which we're pretty stoked on. So those will come out the first part of next year, probably. Um, we have some videos coming out. We're gonna drop a video with Freak Like Me on the 19th
Hell yeah.
that we're super super stoked about. We're playing a show with a band in town called Bury Mia at the Fox Theater in Boulder, Colorado, which is it's a really cool
Yeah.
venue. So yeah, some cool stuff coming up for
Hell
sure.
yeah,
And then
man.
anything past that, we'll
Up in
see.
the air.
I
That's
think all
cool.
three of us are just happy to be here doing it. So
I mean, living the dream. What's better than making music? Talking about
absolutely
music's pretty
nothing.
cool, but
Totally. I
um,
also like talking. Yeah.
right, of course. Now, as far as future music and what you guys have going on, I don't know if you can say, but are you guys going to be looking to experiment in your sound? Obviously, I love what you're doing here, but I think that a band should never be too complacent in the music that they're making.
I completely agree with that. And I think like all three of us kind of all come from really, really different musical influences, but we all
Sure.
kind of, had that punk rock thing in common.
Yeah.
Um, but like Tristan's a really big fan of like Shaky Graves, for example, which is
Yeah, yeah,
probably
yeah.
something you wouldn't think of. Like
No.
Cade really likes Dave Matthews. Like I'm a massive Huey Lewis and the News fan, so
Awesome. Sure,
we're
sure.
kind of open to whatever, and just seeing how it goes. Like we have a song called "Caught Me Dancing" that's like super heavy,
Right,
and
right.
that's our only song like that. But we jammed it out, and we're like, oh, let's keep it. So as long as us three like it, we'll put it out.
I fully agree. I mean, I always say this, but you guys are the ones putting the effort, the time, and the focus in. Ultimately, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
like the final product, then what's the point?
Oh, totally. And I mean, we've been kind of kicked in the balls for sure in the early recording process, even with
Yeah,
some of the stuff we put out, where we get it back and we're like, what the hell is that? Like,
that was, yeah.
I'm like, I know we kind of suck, but do we suck that bad? Like, man, I'm quitting.
Hey, it's good to be
So,
honest with yourself sometimes instead of tricking yourself into thinking you're good.
oh yeah, no, like we're aware. Like Cade is really, really good at drums, like really good. He's
I,
great.
I believe it.
He's the best at his instrument in the band. And like Tristan's a pretty good singer. Um, I'm not. Like the only compliment I've ever gotten vocally was we recorded a few months ago, and the guy running the board stops and he looked. He's like, "Man, you have a great voice." And I was like, "Really?" And then he paused and then finished the sentence, and he was like, "For punk." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
right. That means I'm bad. That's
the
fine. I'll
ultimate
take it.
slap in the face. What a dick.
I'll take it though. I'll take it. It's
That's
fine."
cool. So, from what I understand, you guys are primarily like a pandemic band. You came together during this downtime. Is that correct?
Yeah. And I mean, it took a while. Like I had wanted to do a band for a long time, but was
Sure.
just doing other stuff and didn't really know anybody. Tristan had actually been playing out like solo, like acoustic songs.
Okay.
Um, sorry, one second.
Cool.
Text it.
Yep.
He was playing out by himself, solo, like a little while ago, pre-pandemic, and then didn't know Cade at all, and came together with Tristan, jammed out some stuff. It was like the farthest thing from punk rock on the planet. It was not what we do now. And it didn't work out, and having trouble finding a drummer. And, there was a lot of downtime, obviously, during the pandemic. So I was
Yeah,
like,
man.
well, whatever, let's like write some songs. And found a drummer on the internet, had no idea who he was, and came in, ripped it up, and
Oh, so you
was
guys
like,
all
cool.
weren't friends before?
Well, I've known Tristan for a long time.
Okay.
And obviously he's known me. He's the older brother of one of my really good friends.
Got it.
So I had known him for a while, but we weren't like really close until started doing this. And then
Sure.
nobody knew a drummer. Drummers are hard to find, especially good ones. So we
Good.
just scoured the
Exactly.
internet,
Nice, man.
and yeah, now we're all friends. So it's cool.
There you go. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
step one, be friends with the people you're making music with, I think.
it does help. Yeah,
Totally.
being in a band is a lot like dating. It's really weird.
No, it's true. And it's harder the
It's
more people, obviously, but
I
uh,
yeah, like we really want to get a second guitar player, especially for like live shows. But
yeah.
we're also like, oh man, like
Yeah.
just it's such oh god, whatever.
Yeah,
We'll just be a three piece. It's fine.
that's a tough one. Unless, someone
Mm.
kind of just comes out and it's like, try them out. We'll see.
Yeah, like a love at first sight guitarist or something like that. I don't know.
Now, I want to talk more about music, obviously, but I want to talk about you specifically because I the first thing I really want to know is here, how long have you been playing for?
I've been playing music, the better part of my life. I used to play cello in orchestra.
Nice.
Yeah, like when I was a kid and growing up and stuff. And then, my dad was a bass player. My mom can play a little bit, so I was always around it.
Sure.
And but was definitely on like the more classical side of things. And then,
Right.
as you do when you're 13, 14, you're like, kind of want to rock. So I
Not
switched
really
to
digging
guitar
this
instead.
cello anymore.
No, it was cool, and I'm really like thankful that I did it,
Right.
because just
That's a good base.
absolutely, absolutely, and if you handed me a piece of sheet music like today, like there's no way in hell that I'm gonna remember how to sit down and play cello. But I think starting with that foundation and getting that basis and building your musicality is like important.
Nice.
Um,
Now,
Even if you decide to just strip it down and do 3 chord punk rock.
right.
Yeah.
Well, was there a definitive moment for you that kind of switched over your general love for music for the actual want to create something? Like, was it an album that you heard that you were like, oh, wow, like I want to make something like that, or even just, or, a bunch of different small things that led up to it?
Um, it's probably a bunch of different small things. Like I, the Tristan and I actually both have this in common. When American Idiot, the Green Day album, came out, like
Yes.
it was one of those like you remember the first place you heard it, and it's very influential for that respect. So I think that was like the first piece where it was like, oh, I'm kind of whatever that was. That's that.
Yeah.
Like I like that thing. But it was like kind of young and you're a kid and you're playing sports and it didn't really take. But I'd say it's probably that, jamming with other people. Like I was playing bass for a church for a little bit, just as
Oh,
like a
nice.
sit-in guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And like kind of being around that and being like, okay, at least I don't really love playing this type of music, and just kind of winding up doing a bunch of things that aren't
Right.
yours, and they aren't really your voice, and being like, well, let's do it ourselves now, and let's make it, let's write, and let's figure out how to do it.
See what
So
happens.
I
That's awesome.
probably all of the above, kind of.
So, how does the process work within the band at this point? Obviously, in a solo situation, you'd be doing everything, bringing lyrics, bringing ideas, but is it just like a constant stream of, hey, what if we did this, or I have an idea for this?
Yeah, it totally depends. I mean, there's been stuff where like I'll roll into practice like with the demo done, and I'll have
Oh,
like
nice.
drums programmed or whatever, and then we'll tweak it,
Okay.
and everybody kind of puts their stamp on it, like that. Or somebody rolls in with a riff, or I have these lyrics, whatever. So it totally depends on the song, and kind of whoever like had the biggest creative impulse is going to run with it and kind of take point. But by the time the song's done and we're like, cool, let's go record it, all three of us have something to do with it for sure.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem like there's a ringleader in the band. I mean, from my limited knowledge, but I think it's usually better that way because once one person starts taking over things and starts dictating, that's typically the downfall of the band.
Yeah, it's definitely like pretty diplomatic.
Nice.
And we don't do anything without like talking about it first. And like even this, they just couldn't hop on, just schedules didn't permit. But had it been a little different, we'd all three be here.
It's all good. Maybe sometime in the future. It's nice to get everyone's perspective, but it's all good.
Oh yeah.
So for you specifically, is there a certain part in the process that you enjoy the most from the even like inception of the song, the writing or the coming up with the riff, all the
Yep.
way to the clicking submit button? Is there something that you look forward to the most in a song release?
Oh man. Just being done with it. Probably clicking the submit button. Being
Sure,
like, okay,
sure.
we did it. I think we're good. I think we're
Right.
done. And just being like, okay, it's up. Everybody took it. It's gonna come out. Like we did it. On to the next one. Probably that and like the very beginning of when we all kind of like we sit down with it and come up with it and we all look at
Right.
each other and like, oh, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
So that piece in the very beginning and then when we're done with it is great.
Well,
Everything in
how do you
between
know
is
it's
like
done?
you kind of just it honestly I think if we had it our way nothing would ever get done because we'd be like, oh, what about this, we
Right.
could change this, like what if we did
Exactly.
this rhythm here or this riff or this harmony. So I think like I have like for me personally, I don't want to speak for them, but like I have to
Sure.
sleep on like the mixes we get back. Like because the first time I hear it, I'm like, it's terrible. It's the worst thing we've
A
ever
waste
done.
of time.
And then like sleep on it for a day and listen to it in the morning. I'm like, okay, all right, well let's tweak these things. Um, and after like the third one, at least for me, I try to be like, okay, are we? This is it. Like, what could we possibly do differently? And usually it's like nothing. Like it's done.
Right.
But you know, it's hard to kind of you know even after we put it out, I'm gonna listen to it and be like, damn, oh, we could have or whatever X Y Z.
Yeah. Now, it sort of feels, and maybe it's just like the type of music that I listen to, but it definitely feels like there's a resurgence in punk rock music happening right now. Not
I think so.
necessarily, yeah, not necessarily that it's having like a renaissance of like kind of reinventing the wheel, but I feel that there's a lot of bigger bands or a lot of bands that are really getting their name out there. So, is the for the music that you make, are you trying to take inspiration from those bands? Are you trying to do something yourself? Are you just doing what feels right?
Um, I think a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
I the first thing I do in the morning is I put my headphones in and I make a cup of coffee and I just like listen to music and just see. Sometimes it's not punk, but most of the time it is.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear like what some people are coming up with and the kind of the direction they're taking it because there's a few art like Kenny Hoopla, um, some of his like most recent stuff. I really really like it because it's got that kind of 2000s pop punk thing going for it, but it kind of also you can feel where it stems from stuff like No Effects, and it's
Sure,
just
sure.
it's cool. Like I really like what he's doing, and I think it's good to listen to um other stuff in the genre that you're making, not to like rip it off, but be like, oh, that's an interesting perspective. I wonder if we looked at our piece that way, what we could do with it. So yeah, I guess yes is the short answer. I think
Okay.
I think that's what we do.
So you've touched on this a little bit. You've given some breadcrumbs of what's going on for the band in the next few months or so, but I do want to know, hypothetically speaking, of course, what does the next year of your guys' life look like in a perfect world with no weird restrictions?
I would say in a perfect world with no real restrictions, by this summer we're playing at least every other week out. Not even necessarily headlining, but just being on bills that
Sure.
are suited for us with other bands that are like us. Because I mean, we've been on a few bills that are like it's like us, and then like a soft indie rock band, and then
Right.
like a DJ, and it's just like yeah, it's so not our kind of
Yeah.
deal. Like I almost
That.
feel bad that we're there for the people who
Like,
came. I'm like, I'm sorry, this is not
sorry.
probably your scene. So that would probably be ideal for the next year. Is we're playing at least by this summer, like every other week, on bills and at venues that are cool for us.
Hell
Not
yeah.
necessarily in town. I mean, I'm a realist for sure. Like it'd be fun to pack up and leave and go somewhere. But I think for the next year, focus on here and maybe spread out to places like the Springs. Maybe shoot down to Phoenix or
Totally.
something like that. Just kind of keep it a little
Yeah, man.
fairly local, I guess.
Sure. I mean, nothing better than getting in the car with your friends and going somewhere. So
Oh,
doesn't
absolutely.
matter
Sounds like
where it
a
is.
totally sounds like a blast.
Hey,
So
man.
Um,
So, because we're a music blog and because we're always trying to put people onto good music, just like you guys, I want to know, are
yeah,
there any recommendations that you can give for other local artists that are also making some great stuff, or even just what's been on your playlist lately that you're really enjoying?
sure. We already gave you Kenny Hoopla, but I mean, no
Yeah,
secret there. He's
sure,
pretty big.
sure.
As far as the local scene here goes, I mean, there's so much talent, and I think in
Yeah,
any city, I mean, there's a band here called Bury Mia. They're another pop punk band. They're great. They're coming out with an album pretty shortly.
nice.
There's a band here called Hello Central. Just released an album. Love those guys. There's a band Years Down here, another punk band. They're great. Gunpoint Alibi. Oh man, I'm gonna forget somebody. I'm gonna be so pissed.
Okay.
There's a ton of really great bands here. Let me. I'm trying to think of somebody who's not punk.
It's all good. There's
I
no
don't know.
rules here.
That's what we do. That's what we do here. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nah, man, you got to know the
Um,
competition. It's all good.
right.
Nice. All right, man. Well, I have one more question to ask you at this point, and it's how I like to wrap these things up. Basically, I
Cool.
want to know for the person that is going to discover you from this, and for the person that is going to listen to your guys' music for the first time, what is an opening message that you'd like to say to them?
Oh man. Well, first of all, thanks so much for hitting play. That's cool. That's always like the hardest thing is getting somebody to like. I've never heard of these guys. I'm gonna play it. That's great. So thank you. Don't show it to your stepdad. He's gonna hate it.
Probably.
Just PSA. Don't just skip that or your grandma. Um,
Hey, there's
and
some cool grandmas out there.
there are some cool grandmas out there.
Some.
So the little asterisk depends on the grandma, but I would say broad stroke, skip it.
Yes, yes.
Um, and yeah, I hope that if you listen to our stuff and you like it, you can draw your own feelings and conclusions from it. You know, it makes you feel a certain way, good, bad, or otherwise. I sure hope that we can do that. So
Awesome, man. Great answer. Cass, I want to thank you so much again for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to talk to you and listen to your music. So thank you.
thank
And
you, man. I really appreciate you taking the time.
you're very welcome. And for everyone else out there, as you can see behind his head, the band is called the Losers Club. They're
Shameless
awesome.
plug.
Not shameless. No. Everyone should have a poster behind their head.
Oh,
At
totally.
all
I
times.
agree.
At all times.
You got to do it.
Their next song coming out is called Freak Like Me. Listen to it, stream it, follow along, send it to your grandmas, send it to your stepdads if you want.
Try it. Try
Try
it. It's high
it.
risk.
It's high
It's high
risk,
risk.
but that reward is pretty sweet, I have to say. Um, but yeah, for real, check out their music. All of it's great. And Cass, I hope that we can speak sometime again. But in the meantime, keep doing big things, and we'll definitely be speaking soon.
Dude, I appreciate it so much. Have fun in Denver when you come out, man.
Yeah, man, I definitely will. Thank you so
Cool.
much. Take
For
care.
sure.
Bye bye.
See you, man.